So it's been endless sanctions, and that's where it stopped as far as the United States is concerned. And that's why you also have Ukraine President Zelenskyy targeting the West. He's remained defiant. He's fighting for his motherland. But what lies at the heart of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, never forget, is Ukraine's bid to get NATO membership. That's where it all started. So you'd expect NATO to step up and help actively in this war and help Ukraine. But their silence on this war speaks volumes, and the limited help that they've given out. That's why Zelenskyy now has spoken out, blaming Western allies, even as we just got you details of how the United States has said it's not tenable for Poland to send all their jets to Ukraine.
Я запитав сьогодні у 27 лідерів Європи, чи буде Україна в НАТО. Запитав.
Today I've asked 27 European leaders whether Ukraine will be in NATO. I've asked directly, everyone is afraid. No one answers. But we are not afraid. We are not afraid of anything. We are not afraid to defend our country. We are not afraid of Russia. We are not afraid of talking about neutrality. We are not NATO members at the moment. But what guarantees will we get?
Ukraine's bid to get membership of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is at the heart of the Russia-Ukraine conflict that has now triggered a full-blown war. The two countries are at each other's throats. The third player, NATO, is silent over the key issues. While thousands are displaced and hundreds dead, NATO is not committing to a membership for Ukraine so far. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy has also urged NATO to enforce a no-fly zone over his country's skies and protect them from Russian missiles and warplanes. NATO has not agreed to either of his demands.
NATO is a defensive alliance. Our core task is to keep our 30 nations safe. We are not part of this conflict, and we have a responsibility to ensure it does not escalate and spread beyond Ukraine, because that would be even more devastating and more dangerous.
Zelenskyy feels let down by his Western allies. He said the West could have helped Ukraine, but they witnessed our city get bombed. As the war rages in Ukraine, NATO allies seem to have made distinctions in the help they offer. While they may supply weapons to Ukraine, they will not enter the war in any active role. Ukrainians will have to defend their land themselves. Bureau Report, India Today.
And this morning, let's also get you all the updates coming in from Ukraine. 14 days now, the country's been at war with the Russian invasion. And that's why the country's been left bruised and battered after relentless and non-stop Russian attacks. The capital of Kyiv is under siege as Russian soldiers are inching closer to the top target, which is, of course, the capital city, and to gain control of Kyiv. Efforts are being made right now to evacuate suburban areas of Kyiv. Heavy shelling continues to rock the Ukrainian skies. In Kyiv's suburbs, places like Irpin, a bridge has been damaged. People are still crossing it, attempting to make their way through all of the rubble to flee from the town because of all of the aggressive shelling in Irpin. Women, children and elderly are being rushed to safe spots as the military is staying back to stall Russian advances. Many men have also chosen to stay back, drop their families off and come back to fight the Russians. Besides that, the city of Sumy, which is in the northeast part of Ukraine, was also in shambles after repeated attacks. Ukraine claims that the Russian bombardment has claimed 21 lives, including that of 2 children in Sumy. People in Kherson, southern Ukraine city, which has been captured by Russia, gathered to protest against Putin. Hundreds of citizens hit the streets against Russian aggression. Ukrainian government, meanwhile, has claimed that personnel of the Zaporizhzhia power plant are being held hostage and are being tortured. They made a similar claim about the defunct Chernobyl power plant as well. Everyone's talking about the capital city of Kyiv because the moment Kyiv falls, it means Russia's invasion is complete. And that's why Putin's army is planning a mega assault on Kyiv in hours from now. The alarm bells were sounded by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, who revealed that Russian troops have regrouped to organize an all-out assault on Kyiv. The heart of Ukraine, the citadel of Ukraine, is gearing up for a mammoth assault. There's a huge Russian convoy slowly making its way to the city of Kyiv. And the Ukraine army has sounded its biggest warning yet to citizens. A top Ukrainian army general has said that Russia's combat-ready units are now regrouping on the outskirts of Kyiv for an assault like no other.
Kyiv is bracing for it. Kyiv has been bracing for it, but now it's imminent. Now it's likely to happen any time is what we are being told as soon as this ceasefire lapses, because this ceasefire is only perhaps the last chance for foreigners to leave this place, for non-combatants to leave this place. And that is why Russia unilaterally has announced 2 ceasefires in 48 hours.
The warning has got Ukrainians living in the capital rattled. The reality that this huge Russian convoy could very soon be seen rolling through the streets of Kyiv.
We got a bad news from Irpin that around 30% of the city is still under the control of Russian troops. And the bad news is that the army of Kadyrov, they're just getting into the houses of people. They are taking their money. They are behave themselves as the looters, as a crazy looters, because they are with the guns. People without heat, energy, without food. It's very hard for them. And the Kadyrov army takes the last that they can take from these people.
Russian troops are now focusing all their energy on capturing Kyiv. Their aggression doubled after this video from Ukraine President Zelenskyy confirming that he's indeed camping in the capital currently.
Ось вечірній Київ. Понеділок, вечір. Ви знаєте, ми звикли говорити понеділок день важкий. В країні війна, тож кожен день понеділок. Я залишаюсь тут, залишаюсь у Києві, на Банковій, не ховаючись і нікого не боюсь, стільки, скільки потрібно, щоб перемогти у цій нашій вітчизняній війні.
Russian troops, meanwhile, are bombarding cities bordering Kyiv. This is the situation in cities like Irpin, where civilians are fleeing in large numbers. And people can be seen struggling to cross a decimated and broken bridge. Russia is moving closer and closer to Kyiv. But Ukrainians are vowing to fight back with all they've got.
13 days that were there since the beginning of war, we were able to regroup, we were able to prepare. Our forces are stronger than ever. Our resistance groups are ready to fight. We are ready for a siege if it happens. And the only thing that we do really need right now is the protection from the air.
The final assault will no doubt be a bloody and deadly one on the capital of Kyiv, as Russia will look to end the invasion by capturing the citadel. Ukraine, however, has made it clear they will ensure it's no walkover for Putin's army. Bureau Report, India Today. Now, as Russian troops are trying to enter into Kyiv, it is the cities on the outskirts of the capital that are being targeted right now. The Ukrainian military is evacuating citizens from cities like Bucha and Irpin amid heavy shelling. Strategic plans are also being laid out to stall the Russian advances towards Kyiv. It is through these cities that the Russian troops will try to enter into the capital. So bridges are being broken down, roads are being completely blocked off with sandbags and hedgehogs to ensure Russia cannot step foot in Kyiv.
Місто Буча, 3 березня 22 року.
Bucha, on Kiev's outskirts, is facing the brunt of attacks.
You can hear shelling in the backdrop, and hundreds and hundreds of people are fleeing this battleground. They're fleeing the war zone.
As Russia advances towards Kyiv, the capital suburbs are feeling the heat of missiles.
You can hear all the Russian action. It continues, maybe at a distance, but it is quite a scare. We have residents from Bucha.
Bucha was left bruised and battered after a severe pounding by the Russian artillery.
The broken bridge and broken lives. Now, a desperate attempt being made to rescue senior citizens. Easier said than done. An effort is being made to rescue these people from this broken bridge. Now, this place in the Bucha district in Irpin is directly in the line of Russian fire, and people are desperately trying to come out.
The town began emptying as citizens fled to safer places.
This is a very crucial bridge to enter Kyiv, and this bridge has been blown up so that the Russian forces are stalled. While the Russians may have their bridge-laying tanks, but getting those tanks in position here or finding another easier access to Kyiv will stall their advance, and this has given time to the Ukrainian forces.
We have residents from Bucha leaving their homes either on foot or being taken in ambulances and emergency services that have been pressed into action only for evacuation right now in Bucha district. The whole night, people over here really had to go through a lot of Russian action. So it is continuing. There are many areas that are absolutely unsafe.
We see a lot of war techniques, a lot of tanks, a lot of army, and a lot of foreign.
Are they Ukrainian or Russian?
No, it's not Ukrainian people. It's not Ukrainian. It's Russian people.
Ukrainian defense forces are doing their utmost to stall the Russian advance.
The situation is extremely grim. The Russians seem to be advancing, and that is why this area is being evacuated. If you notice, only military personnel here in this Irpin Bucha belt here in Ukraine. But hold on. Be very careful, Pawan, very careful. These are anti-tank mines that are laid on the road here. So now you can make out how dangerous the situation is. My camera person Pawan was very close to these anti-tank mines that have been placed here. In some areas, you also have anti-personnel mines that have been deployed. Now, we have been told that there are anti-personnel mines and anti-tank mines in this area.
Even trains are being put to use to block the Russians from moving towards Kyiv.
Look at the desperate measures. There is a train track. Goods trains have been parked in the middle of the road. This is a track that crosses this. Now, right now, vehicles can pass through this, but should the Russian advance be close, and there are red lines at every flag and red flags being put, the moment those red lines are breached, this track will be closed, and this track incidentally is also manned, which means where we are right now, these trains will be in the middle of the track. Attempt is to stall the advance of the Russian army towards Kyiv.
Fighting with their backs to the wall, Ukraine is appealing for help.
People are really
Please close the sky.
Close the sky. That's the message. That is exactly the message that Ukrainians, this young lad over here says, close the skies. We've heard this time and again that NATO and the West are not announcing closing of the skies, and unless and until that happens, an angry soldier there, this Russian action will continue. So the demand of Ukrainians over here is to close the skies. A no-fly zone over Ukraine is just a must.
But the Russian war machine outside Kyiv is huge. For how long can the Ukrainians resist them is anybody's guess. With Gaurav Sawant and Geeta Mohan in Bucha district, Bureau Report, India Today.
14 days on, you see the Russian troops haven't managed to capture the capital city of Kyiv, or for that matter, cities like Kharkiv are still not under Russian control. That's because of Ukraine putting up a kind of resistance that was completely unexpected. Russia from the first day had impressed upon the Ukrainian troops to lay down their arms. Even recently, Putin urged all of them to surrender. That clearly hasn't happened. From using the home ground advantage to also ensuring an all-out information warfare, in our next report, we decode 5 reasons why Ukraine has ensured that they've slowed down Russia's advance.
When Russia invaded Ukraine on 22nd February, many felt it would be only a matter of days before the mighty Russian military got the better of the Ukrainian forces. A fortnight later, the end game remains unclear. Ukraine has put up a resistance that was least expected by Russia, especially with civilians voluntarily joining the war to resist the Russian might. With the fall of Kherson, Russian forces were expected to take control of other key cities like Kyiv and Kharkiv. The nature of fight back indicates a detailed battle plan at play. Ukrainian forces have been preparing and readying for a Russian invasion since 2014, when Crimea was annexed. The country's entire military is in tune to fight Russia, as they don't have any threats from its other neighbors like Poland, Hungary, Slovakia or Romania. Putin's soldiers have been surprised by ground tactics of Ukraine troops, including anti-tank weaponry and sniper fire. Russia is also on the back foot in urban warfare because its air force was pressed into action late after the initial bombardment by cruise missiles on February 24th. Lastly, Ukraine might have an inferior military, but it is winning the information battle. They have successfully convinced the world that Russia is the only aggressor and villain in this war. Ukraine claims it has so far killed 11,000 Russian troops and shot down 46 aircraft, 68 helicopters. While these claims might not be accurate, images of damage suffered by Russian forces that have emerged point to a fierce fight in the place of what was expected to be a lopsided war. With Rajesh Pawar in Kyiv, Ukraine, and Abhishek Bhalla, Bureau Report, India Today.